I want to thank God for using someone in this church to bless me with $100.
What?
I don't know who you are,
Jesus Christ.
but may God bless you.
Nobody thought one widow's testimony would destroy 15 years of ministry in less than 15 minutes.
Hear me out, please.
A quiet woman standing before the congregation, holding a microphone with trembling hands, thanking God for a blessing she believed had saved her children from hunger. Pastor Elvis was one of those men. For over 15 years, he stood behind that pulpit with the confidence of a man who believed God had chosen him above others. His church was full, his name was respected, but on one particular Sunday morning, something was different. The service had started like every other service. The choir sang. The ushers smiled. The offering was collected. And Pastor Elvis stood at the pulpit, confident, composed, and completely unaware that the next few minutes, everything he had spent 15 years building would strip away with a simple testimony from a poor widow. Then it happened. A woman stood up. A quiet woman. A woman most members had never paid much attention to. A woman in a simple dress, with tired eyes that still somehow carried faith. She walked slowly to the front of the church, took the microphone with trembling hands, and began to speak. What she said was innocent. She was not accusing anyone. She was not angry. She was simply thanking God. But those few words of gratitude hit the church like a thunderclap. Because sitting 3 rows from the front was a man who had heard enough. And at the back of the pastor's mind, a secret he thought was safely buried began clawing its way to the surface. Within minutes, men and women who had sat in that church for years began rising from their seats, not to worship, not to give an offering, but to walk out. Pastor Elvis stood at the pulpit, the same pulpit he had commanded for over a decade, frozen. His mouth opened but couldn't speak. His eyes the room, and found only disbelief staring back at him. The church he had built was emptying before his eyes. How does a man lose everything in one Sunday morning? How does a ministry that took 15 years to build collapse in 15 minutes? The answer is not complicated. It began with a widow, a prayer whispered in the dark, and 2 envelopes that a pastor should never have opened one. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share to bless others. Now let's continue the story. To understand why this story matters, you first have to meet Martha. Martha lived in a single room with her 2 children, Peter and Paul. There was no husband, no family nearby to call on, no savings tucked under the mattress, just a mother, 2 boys, and a kind of silence that only settles in a home where worry has moved in permanently. Every morning, Martha woke up before her children, not because she had things to prepare, but because she needed a few quiet minutes to gather the strength to face another day she wasn't sure she could survive. That evening, she sat at the edge of her bed and spread 3 pieces of paper in front of her. A rent reminder, 2 months overdue, a food debt notes from the shop down the road. The shopkeeper had been patient, but his patience was running thin. And a school fees notice. Peter and Paul were close to being sent home. 3 pieces of paper, 3 different debts, and 1 woman with nothing in her hands to answer any of them. Peter and Paul were finishing the last of the rice she had stretched for 2 days.
Mom, are we having more food tonight?
Go and sleep, baby. Tomorrow will be better.
When the children were asleep, Martha allowed herself to feel what she had been holding all day, and then she did the only thing she had left to do. She prayed. There is a kind of prayer that never makes it into church program. It is not prayed behind a polished pulpit. It carries no performance, no audience, and no applause. It is the prayer of someone who has run out of every other option, and those are often the prayers that travel the farthest. Martha did not pray with eloquence that night. She did not quote long scriptures or call on the names of angels. She simply opened her mouth and let the pain speak for itself.
God, I am not asking for too much. I know there are people suffering more than me. But please, don't let my children suffer because I have no one. They didn't choose this life. They didn't ask to be hungry. Please, Lord, just this once, let someone remember us.
She stayed on her knees until the words ran out. Then she remained there in the silence, not because she had more to say, but because she was not ready to get up and face the same empty room again. Faith, for Martha, was not a feeling. It was a decision she made every night when feelings gave her nothing to hold on to. She chose to believe that someone, somewhere, was listening. She did not know that on the other side of the city, in a bedroom nothing like hers, a man was being woken from his sleep by something he could not explain. Richmond was awake, and he did not know why. Richmond was not the kind of man who ignored what he felt in his chest at 2 in the morning. He had built his business through discipline, his reputation through integrity, and his faith through years of learning to tell the difference between his own thoughts and something greater nudging him from within. So when he sat up in bed that night, wide awake, no alarm, no noise, he did not reach for his phone. He sat still. and he listened. A name came to him. Martha. He had seen her in church, sat a few rows behind her, perhaps. Noticed the simple dress, the two young boys beside her, the way she always arrived early and left quietly. She was the kind of person a busy church could overlook for years without meaning to. But tonight, her name sat heavily on Richmond's heart and refused to move. He had already been thinking about the church building project. Pastor Elvis had presented the vision 3 Sundays in a row. A new auditorium, more space, more capacity to reach more people. Richmond had decided he would contribute $5,000. It was a sum he had already settled in his heart. But tonight, something told him that was not the only giving he needed to do. He picked up a pen. On the first envelope, he wrote $5,000, folded neatly inside, for the building. On the second envelope, he wrote one word, Martha, $1,000. Every cent of it meant for her. Not because Richmond knew the full details of her struggle. Not because anyone had told him how empty her food container was, or how many times she had read those 3 debt notices under her mattress. He simply felt that it was right. And Richmond had learned, at great cost over many years, that when something feels that right in the middle of the night, you do not negotiate with it. By morning, Martha's name was still the first thing on his mind. He dressed early, drove to the church, and asked to see Pastor Elvis before the week got busy. He had 2 envelopes in his jacket pocket, and he trusted, completely, without any reason to doubt, that both of them would reach exactly where they were meant to go. Pastor Elvis was a man who valued appearances. His office reflected that. It was the office of a man who understood that leadership, in many ways, was a performance. Richmond walked in with the ease and greeted Pastor Elvis with a firm handshake and sat down without waiting to be invited. Not out of disrespect, simply because Richmond was the kind of man who was comfortable everywhere he went. They exchanged pleasantries briefly, the weather, the last Sunday service, the growth of the church, and then Richmond reached into his jacket pocket.
Pastor, these $5,000 is for the building project. Use it however the committee sees fit. But this envelope is for Martha, the widow with the 2 boys. I felt led to bless her specifically. Please make sure she receives every dollar of it.
Pastor Elvis smiled. It was the smile of a man you could trust your deepest secrets with.
Brother Richmond, God bless your generous heart. I will personally make sure Martha receives it. You have my word.
Richmond nodded, shook hands again, and left. He walked back to his car with the lightness of a man who had obeyed what was on his heart. His part was done. He had been faithful with what he felt called to do. What happened next was no longer in his hands. Pastor Elvis sat alone now, both envelopes on the desk in front of him. He picked up the first one, $5,000 for the church. He held it with the ease of a man handling figures he was accustomed to. Then he picked up the second one. He turned it over slowly in his hands. Martha's name stared back at him. $1,000. For a widow. He should have placed it in his safe immediately. He should have called Martha that same afternoon and handed it to her with a blessing and a prayer. That is what a shepherd does. But Pastor Elvis sat there a little too long, and in that silence, something else began to speak to him. It was Evelyn. Evelyn had a way of reading a room before she fully entered it. She noticed the 2 envelopes on the desk immediately. She noticed the way her husband's hand rested on the smaller one, and she noticed the look on his face. Not guilt, not conviction, but hesitation. To a woman like Evelyn, hesitation was an invitation.
Martha? The widow with the small boys? How much did Richmond give for her?
$1,000.
Elvis, the church roof fund is still short. The generator needs servicing. The choir has been waiting 3 months for new robes. We carry so much and nobody sees it. Give her something small. She will still be grateful. She will still thank God. She doesn't even know what was sent for her. $100 is still a blessing to a woman like Martha.
That was the moment. Not the moment he took the money. The moment before it, when he heard wrong counsel and did not stand up and walk away from it. Evelyn had not screamed at him. She had not threatened him. She had simply repackaged greed in the language of church needs and reasonable logic, and handed it to him like it was wisdom. And Pastor Elvis, a man who had preached about the love of money destroying men from that very pulpit, sat there and received it. He told himself it was temporary. He told himself the church needed it more. He told himself Martha would still be blessed with whatever remained. Men who steal rarely call it stealing in the moment. They call it borrowing. They call it redirecting. They call it wisdom. Evelyn left the office as quietly as she had entered it. No argument, no drama, no second thoughts visible on her face, just the soft click of a door closing behind her. And in that office, with a locked drawer and a sealed envelope containing $100, Pastor Elvis had just become something he had never once preached he would be. A man who stole from a widow. The devil rarely comes with fire and noise. Most of the time, he comes in the quiet voice of someone standing right beside you. Wearing a church dress, closing the door softly on the way out, Martha received the call that same afternoon. The pastor's secretary told her simply that Pastor Elvis would like to see her at the church office. Nothing more. Martha did not question it. She never questioned a call from the pastor. She changed into her best dress, the one she kept for Sundays and important occasions, and walked to the church with the quiet hope of a woman who had learned not to expect too much from life. Pastor Elvis was ready for her. He had rehearsed what he would say. He had arranged his face into the expression of a generous bearer of good news. He gestured for her to sit, asked about her children, commented on how faithful she had been in church attendance. Small talk, the kind that fills space before a lie needs to be delivered. Then Pastor Elvis folded his hands on the desk and leaned forward slightly. A gesture he had learned made people feel he was being sincere.
Sister Martha, God has been watching you. Someone in this church, they asked to remain anonymous. They felt led to bless you. They gave you $100. I have removed the tithe, as is proper before God. So this $90 is yours. Use it well, and keep trusting the Lord.
Martha looked at the envelope. Then she looked up at Pastor Elvis. And then she did something that should have made the ground open beneath that desk. She smiled.
Thank you, Pastor. God bless whoever remembered me. God bless them.
She took the envelope with both hands, the way people receive things they consider sacred. She held it against her chest for just a moment before placing it carefully into her handbag. $90. She had no idea it should have been $1,000. She had no reason to doubt the man sitting across from her. This was her pastor, the man of God, the shepherd. And so, she stood, thanked him again, and walked out of his office carrying $90 and a heart full of gratitude for a blessing that had been robbed of $900 before it ever reached her hands. Pastor Elvis watched Martha leave from his office window. She was smiling, and that smile made him feel safe. He told himself she was thankful. He told himself she had received a blessing. He told himself nobody would ever ask questions about money that only 3 people knew existed. But that was where he was wrong. Because the same God Martha thanked quietly in that office was the same God who had woken Richmond at 2 in the morning. And when God begins something, no man can cover it with lies. That night, Martha used part of the money to buy food for her children. She paid a little of what she owed. She knelt beside her bed with tears in her eyes and prayed for the unknown person who had remembered her. And in her heart, she made one simple decision. On Sunday, she would stand before the church and give a testimony. Not to expose anyone, not to accuse anyone, not to embarrass the pastor, only to thank God. But what Martha did not know was that Richmond would also be sitting in that same service. And Pastor Elvis did not know that one innocent testimony was about to open a door no prayer could close. So let me ask you, was Pastor Elvis right to reduce the money because he believed the church also needed help? Should Martha have kept the blessing private, or was she right to testify before the congregation? And if you were Richmond, sitting in church and hearing Martha thank God for only $100, when you gave $1,000 in her name, what would you do? Because the next service was not going to be an ordinary service. It was the Sunday Pastor Elvis would learn that stolen blessings do not stay silent forever. This story will be continued. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share to bless others. Thank you.